Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Relatable Hour with me, Dr. Green. Thank you so very much for joining. We have a great guest with us today, and I'll introduce him in just a second. But I want to talk a little bit about what we'll be kind of speaking to.
Mhm.
A lot of times we think that, like one experience is just for that one experience, and then we move on to something else and we learn new experiences. But a lot of times, and I've mentioned this before, and we've had people talk about it, but we're going to extensively talk about it. A lot of times when we go through an experience, um, we are not just going through it for that one time. We're using it so that we can use it for other areas in our life. And I think today's guest will be able to really kind of talk about that in more specific terms because just the experiences that he's had, and boy, it's a lot that he's probably experienced, and we'll get to all of that. But I think these are the types of conversations that can help you kind of identify how you can transfer those same skills into doing other things in your life as well, and how important it is to keep that first in mind. So, with that being said, I want to introduce to you all Dantiel Daniels. Thank you so very much for joining, Dantiel. How you doing, man?
I'm all good, man. First of all, I appreciate you for having me on your platform, and I love what you got going on. Strong black man like yourself doing your thing, I gotta support, man. I have to support. So, my name is Dantiel Daniels. Y'all can call me Teal like the color. Born and raised in St. Louis, Missouri. Started playing basketball at Southern Illinois Carbondale. Got the chance to do that. I transferred. Now this is I'm an OG now. This is before you can transfer and go to non-schools. So I transferred, had to sit out at Colorado State. From there, got my bachelor's in liberal arts and my master's in education, and then from there parlayed that into about a 4.5 year professional career overseas, stopping in Europe, South America, and Asia. And then from there, just kind of used the skills that I had, those transferable skills, to become an athletic coach for a little bit, and then an administrator, and now currently working in Alumni Affairs. So I'm happy to be here, and I love to chop it up with you. I'm ready. Let's go.
Okay, well, first and foremost, I want to just thank you for the compliments. I really appreciate, you just kind of saying that. I do think it
Sure.
is important for, these types of conversations to be prevalent. So, thank you for acknowledging the work. And again, thanks for joining because I know that you have a lot to offer to this particular topic.
Mm,
And you talked about just already about your experiences in college.
yeah.
But just even before you got to that college space, talk to us a little bit about, your upbringings. And I know you got into the sport of basketball.
Mhm.
How did that kind of merge together and how did it benefit you, from your background and where you are today?
Yeah, so I'll say, so for me, I grew up in a single parent home. It was just my mom, and then it was my two sisters, my older brother, and my older sister. But my older brother and my older sister were already a little older, so they were out the house. Man, we had it rough. We grew up in homeless shelters. I mean, we bounced around a lot. It wasn't until about seventh or eighth grade we moved out to the suburbs in a place called Wentzville, Missouri, where life got a little better, man. It was rough for us, homeless shelters. Like it was to the point to where like we just really couldn't stay on our feet. My mama was having it rough. It was just her. She got, five kids, and then really three with me and my other two sisters. Um, so when we moved to Wentzville, it kind of got better. For us, I wasn't one of them kids that it was like, oh, I've been playing basketball since I was little. We trying to
Right,
worry about what we gonna eat. We not worried about no basketball.
right.
We not worried about no basketball, no AAU, no nothing. And so once we became more stable, out there in Wentzville, it would kind of was like all the stars aligned. And then I met with one of my good friends, BJ Young. He put me on to St. Louis Game Face, and then from there my life changed. They introduced me to some, traveling, and how we travel and how we play, high level basketball. I wasn't used to that at all. So you just kind of throw this kid who was used to living in the city, living in the trenches, to now I have to conform essentially to how the suburbs work, and then how the suburbs work going into this high level of basketball. It was difficult, but I loved every stop of it because I learned teamwork. I learned that You can work your whole life for something and never accomplish it.
Mm,
It's life. And also, you can have somebody right next to you who never worked hard for anything, and that same thing y'all both want, he or she gets.
mm-hmm,
So, life, I think for me, I learned a lot about life because I had been in adverse situations. And once those adverse situations really taught me who I was, of
mm,
learning how to figure things out without a lot, learning how to communicate. That's the biggest one. Because if you can't communicate, it's hard. I mean, like my OGs always told me, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. And
mm-hmm,
so now it's like, okay, well, I gotta be able to open my mouth and tell people what I need. So for me, being having like grown up in those adverse situations, it really helped me because I found so many parallels between real life and sport. Right? You work hard for something, you may get it, you may not. But that hard work, right? You may start on a journey trying to be an electrician, but along the way you find out I'm actually an accountant.
mm,
But along
mm-hmm,
the way, you find some skills that you can use: communication, people skills, organization, things like that. So for me, that's kind of my background and kind of how it, comes together to create the man you see before you right now.
mm-hmm. So many things that you've said that I think is really important to highlight. I mean, the idea of life being hard
Yes.
and having those experiences, those hard experiences to
Hmm.
prepare you for life,
Yeah.
is really sticking out to me. And I think that always allows, when you experience those things, it allows for you to pass that type of knowledge on to other people so that
Yes.
they can, understand, like, I'm telling you something that I have experienced so that you
Yep.
won't experience the same thing. But of course, people always have to find out for themselves to kind of figure that out.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm wondering, like, when you spoke about how you had the parallels between life and basketball
Hmm.
and shooting for things that you want to do, and sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't.
Yeah.
How has that manifested for you, just still being, kind of involved in that space, but also being able to help other people, current players that are, kind of in that same space?
Yeah, I think it's difficult for me being a former professional athlete, a former collegiate athlete. Um, for me, my experience was a little different because I did come in with an IEP, a learning disability, and everybody just didn't know that. And so for me, I actually took it upon myself to say, I want to see like what I can do without it. So that's already a hurdle that a lot of our young black
Mm,
males and females face as far as you coming on campus and you trying to figure it out. So I really believe that when it comes to like the sport aspect of it, because even just for a normal college student, their experience will be significantly different than a student athlete because now when you're a student athlete, people are looking at you. You got to be at weights at 6:15. You got practice at 7:45. You're going to go from 7:45 probably up until 9:15. You got to shower, you got to eat, you got class from 10 to 3. Then you got to shower, you got to make sure your body right, you got to go to the trainer. So for me, during my time dealing with athletes, I had to understand like, although the playing field, aka the time, is different, the grind is still the same. So for me, I just really love to pour into my students or athletes. And the biggest thing was when I worked with athletes, I had to realize that they really struggled with communicating
mm,
how they have gained skills and how those skills that they gain can help them
hmm,
reach their full potential. And as a student athlete, you don't always get support in trying to figure out like how to explore things outside of your sport because
hmm,
the message a lot of athletes are getting is, listen, we want you to come here. We got all this playing time for you. We want you to do well. Don't really worry about the classwork. We'll put you in liberal arts. It's not really that difficult. Well, hold on now. And that's why
hmm,
I'm doing what I'm doing now because I wanna change that. I wanna say, hey,
hmm,
listen, You can do whatever it is you put your mind to. But there is this one caveat. Whatever it is you want to do, I'm going to let you know what it takes, and it takes what it takes. There's no
Mm-hmm.
negotiating. There's no saying, I want this and I don't want that. You got to take it all. So if you want to
Mm-hmm.
be an engineer, here's what it takes. If you want to be a physicist, here's what it takes. If you want to be a marine biologist, here's what it takes. And I would also go on a limb to say, if you are a student athlete and you are a physicist or an engineer or anything, I tell them utilize your resources. I got three rules when it comes to that: legally, morally, ethically. As long as you are staying within the realms of those three, everything is on the table. So you
Mm-hmm.
telling me, you know, Dr. Green, if oh you like the way I play basketball, and I know you're in a position because you have your own company. Well, how much do you like me? Because I'm gonna come shake your hand, introduce myself, and say, hey, I'm
Right.
Dantiel Daniels, a student athlete here at Tulane University. I'm really looking for an internship. My skills are communication, authenticity. I show up as I am. I know what I am. I know who I am. I'm going to work hard. I'm not going to be perfect, but I'm going to give you everything I got.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm going to say. So for a lot of people, I had to really teach them how to leverage what they have to get what they want legally, morally, ethically. And while I'm doing it, I got another two rules. I keep it real and respectful. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
not your dad. I'm not your uncle. I'm not your cousin. And I'm not trying to be. I'm just somebody that cares because I've been where you are and I've been where you're trying to go. And so for me, having that credibility already built in, it's a little easier for me. And I think the mentorship in teaching just goes hand to hand.
Mm-hmm. It definitely does. And I love the time management reality
Yes.
you're giving to people. I want to go back to how you were talking about that because, if you got such a rigorous schedule throughout
Mhm.
the day as an athlete, it's really just about pivoting that same mentality
Yes.
to something else. And I can't tell you how many relationships have been developed by coming up to somebody and introducing yourself and being real and being positive and respectful and just showing them the skills that you have. I
Yes.
mean, those are like golden
They are.
qualities that you are really giving off to people, especially your students.
For sure.
So, you talked about going overseas.
Yeah.
I know how that can be. I know how working and well playing ball in college can be.
Yeah.
Um, how did you manage to transfer those skills from coming from that college life
Hmm.
and transferring them to play overseas? Because I know when you did that, you probably left from overseas coming back
Yes.
here with a
Hmm.
whole bunch of other transferable skills that you are transferring to your current professional life. So
Yeah.
from college, let's go just from college to overseas. Like how
Mhm.
did how did that pan out for you? And how
Man,
important
so
was
that's a
it?
great question. I believe that a lot of my skills were really honed and crafted before I even got to college. And
Okay.
so when I got to college, I was able to identify and be conscious of the skills that I have and say, okay, I want to sharpen them. So for me, growing up the way I did, I always knew I'm going to figure it out.
Yeah.
So if me and my mom and my two sisters can figure it out with these shelters and going from here to there, you telling me I have a team manager, I
Mm-hmm.
have a coach, I have a bunch of assistant coaches who obviously care about me because they've flown me over here overseas.
Yeah.
For me, figuring it out is a skill that I tell my students all the time. It doesn't require a doctorate. Don't matter how tall you are. Don't matter how much you can bench. It doesn't matter. Figuring it out does not require a PhD. You
Yes.
just have to simply identify your resources. For example, when I first got to Europe, I said, okay, from college, I knew I had great time management. It really helped me be structured in what I needed to do. And I knew I was going to be consistent. So when I finally got over there, they give us our schedule. And I'm looking like, this schedule is fairly light compared to what we're used to in college. See, they put you through the gauntlet in college in hopes that they make it so hard that by the time you get overseas, it's like this transition is really not that hard. So for me, a lot of the skills with communication, that was a skill that I knew I was good at, but I had to get better at. Took a lot of speech classes, took a lot of public speaking classes, really to try to hone that really craft. And as I got to college, being a leader, you got to be able to rally the troops. If they can't understand what you're saying, you can't rally them.
That's right.
Taking that overseas, it's like, okay, now it's difficult because you're speaking a different language. Don't matter how good you speak English, do you speak Finnish? Because I was in Finland, that's where I was,
Right.
and I really didn't know anything but our
Yeah.
translator. I had to make sure I was on point with our translator and starting to ask the right questions. Hey, the schedule says we need to be here at 8 a.m.
Right.
Is there anything we got to be here before? Is there stretching? Do we got to partner with this program to go feed the homeless or whatever it is we do? We did a lot of community service things as well. So a lot of transferable skills as far as like being patient. You have to be patient over there. You don't know what everybody is saying. You have to essentially play charades to an extent, right? You can pull out the Google Translate. That works too. Uh, but the most important thing is you have to be willing to adapt. If
Mhm.
you go to a different country with a different culture, different people, I can't be the St. Louis Teal that I am everywhere I walk around in USA. That doesn't matter. It's not the USA. The laws, the rules, the culture, the norms, everything is different. Now, I'm not saying you got to completely become Finnish, but you need to have an idea of where you're going before you get there so you're not really out there acting a fool or you're not doing anything that culturally could be labeled as taboo.
Right.
So a lot of the skills that I realized I had, and even with communication, that strengthened my communication skills because although I didn't speak Finnish, I learned, okay, it's not really about asking questions, it's about asking the right questions to the
Hmm.
right people.
Hmm.
And once you ask those questions, you tend to get good answers. Even in South America, more of the same. And then by the time I got to China, China was my favorite place. The language was very difficult. And really, what saved me, well, I wouldn't even say saved, but the reason that I stopped playing was because of COVID. So, and I'll be very careful how I will say this because I know a lot of people lost family members, friends, to COVID, and my heart goes out to those people. But for me personally speaking, COVID was the thing that changed my life because I was in an athlete mindset, not
Hmm.
thinking about transferable skills or anything. And being in that mindset, you have tunnel vision. Now, the great thing about tunnel vision is you're locked in. The bad thing is you miss 85% of everything else
Right.
going on.
That's right.
And so, COVID, when it happened, I was still in China. And so, coaches told me, hey, you can go home. It's all right. You'll be back in a couple weeks. It's a flu. I said, okay, that's fine, right? So it'd be like you packing bags for you to go somewhere for about 2.5 weeks, right? You're not taking everything.
Right.
Not taking everything. Same thing for me. I took about 2.5 weeks worth of stuff, never been back. And I share that story because once I got home, I didn't know I wasn't going back. And so once the reality set in, and
Yeah.
once I understood that it's not a possibility to go back, now hindsight, I'm thinking, okay, I want to prepare my students and student athletes to be ready just in case another COVID happens. How are you going to react? How are you going to pivot? How does the skills that you got from when you were little, high school, the things that you gained in college, how can you combine all of those skills to make you a more well-rounded person? And how can you communicate on your resume that you have all of these skills and use being a student athlete, if you are one, essentially as a black card? I used to tell my athletes, being a student athlete is like a black card that doesn't decline as long as you know how to use it.
Right.
But if you
That's
don't, it
important.
turn into a debit card with $0 on there, and you won't be able to use it nowhere because nobody cares that you played basketball at Tulane or football at Tulane, right? You have to be able to identify those skills in order to say, hey, Dr. Green, these are A, B, and C skills that I have in order to help your company. I think I would be a strong fit because
Hmm.
for me, I'm versatile because in the 5 years I've been in college, I've seen 5 different teams. I've seen three different head coaches. So
Wow.
essentially, I'm somebody that is going to have to be versatile and I'm willing to adapt. So just
Hmm.
having a pitch, if you will, like I always would try to teach my students, like, hey, what's your pitch? You have to know your pitch. If I say Dr. Sherman Green, what's your pitch? It's exclusive to you. And if you
Yeah.
don't know your pitch, you need to know yourself and you need to know yourself a little better. So that way you can position yourself and market yourself in such a way
Hmm.
that you'll look a lot more desirable for a lot of jobs. And then you'll have them fighting over you and using the student athlete card to your advantage.
Yeah, yeah, that's really key. I'm glad that you're taking that stance with your student athletes because, and you've been mentioning communication a few times,
Hmm.
because communication is such a driving force through our
Yeah.
everyday lives, but it's only when you see how important it is that you really
Yeah.
start honing better skills into being a better communicator. Not to just harp on that one, but just for the sake of this conversation,
Mhm.
why do you think that is one of the biggest ones that people tend to struggle with? And in your expertise, especially with the student athletes that you've been mentoring and just students in general, why is that? That is a thing. I've noticed it a lot. Like I have a way of communicating that's pretty
Mhm.
clear and concise, but I know how to accurately do that. But from
Yeah.
your vantage point, why is that such a big deal nowadays?
I think nowadays, well, you have name, image, and likeness on the rise. And so when you have NIL, now it's about branding and marketing. But I think the bigger problem is, you know what I'm saying, whether you got an accent, whether you're from the north, south, east, or
Hmm.
west, fine. I tell my athletes and my students, because I teach classes here, I tell everybody, and I teach career development and personal development classes. I tell everybody the 1904 definition of professionalism that's gone. That was rooted in whiteness. You had a bunch
Hmm.
of older white men saying what
Hmm.
professional is and what
Hmm.
professional isn't. And
Hmm.
so now I say be authentically professional. That does not mean if you work on Wall Street, you showing up with, a regular shirt and some flip-flop. That's not what that means. That's still the part where you have to do your job, but the part where you can be authentically yourself is maybe you do got locks. Maybe you do got braids. Maybe you do got a beard. But what I will say is if you're gonna rock the locks, if you're gonna have the braids, if you're gonna have a beard, clean it up.
That's right.
If you're gonna have locks, make sure you get a retwist. Make sure you keep your oil good. Make sure if you're gonna have a protective style, make sure it looks good. Make sure you get your hair lined up. If you got braids, make sure they fresh, make sure they clean. I would always tell them you never get a second chance to make a first impression.
That's right.
And unfair as that sounds, that's what it is. That's just really what it is. And so I think it comes from people not being able to communicate from when you're younger. You have your accent, you grow up, talk how you gonna talk. And I don't care if you got some twang to you, you can have a lot. If I can understand what you're saying, I'm fine with that. But I think there's not enough emphasis on,
Mm.
hey man, like talk to me like you have some sense.
Yeah.
Talk to me like I'm somebody that you normally wouldn't engage with on a daily basis and you want to sell me something.
Hmm.
Talk to me as if I have no prior knowledge about you trying to sell me this bottle of hand sanitizer.
Hmm.
And I think a lot of people are like, oh well, little Johnny's so good that he can talk any way he want. Yeah, that's great, but if you can really endorse yourself and you can be well spoken and you don't have to conform to societal standards, I'm completely fine with that. But I think nobody wants to really have that talk of, hey, I think you need to take a public speaking class.
Oh, yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
I think you need to do things like that because what communication does is it could be the difference between me getting a job and me not getting it,
That's
between
right.
me successfully networking with somebody like Dr. Sherman Green and me not.
Hmm.
The difference between me being able to get an internship that could potentially change my life or at least introduce me to something new or not. I think a lot of people, not only athletes, I think everybody needs to take public speaking classes because they say public speaking is the number one fear of people. And
Oh
for
yeah.
me,
Yeah.
I've done it my whole life. I've always been a leader on my team. I've always been a locker room guy. I've always been a guy in the middle, hyping us up, giving us the speech. Let's go to war. That's the
Yeah.
kind of guy I've been. So for me, it's natural. But
Right.
I do think the problem stems from, students not wanting to take public speaking. And when they take it, they try to take every shortcut. Like for me, I can remember in my public speaking class, we had people in there saying like, "Oh, my stomach hurt. I can't do my speech
Yeah.
today."
Coming up with any
Well,
excuse. Right.
you get by, you don't get away.
Hmm.
You may be spared today, but guess what? Next week you got to pay the piper, and it's
That's
time.
right.
And so communication is essentially the driving force. If I feel like you're not a great communicator, it's going to be hard for me to listen to what you have to say. And your message could be the greatest,
Hmm.
but the delivery is poor. And if the delivery is poor, you lost me the first four, five, six words you said, because I'm sitting there like, I don't even know what you're saying. I can't understand it. And it's not because of an accent, it's because you're not speaking clearly. You're not even getting to your point of what you want to talk about. So for me, I think it starts with that, especially if you get the opportunity to go to college.
Right.
I would definitely tell students, take a public speaking class, try to get over that fear. Because the thing is, if you can do well in that environment and you can continuously work on it, communication is a skill. Just like when I used to teach my big guys how to shoot free throws, teach my big guys how to do a drop step on a block or catch the ball, face up, jab step, hook. It's a skill. And the only way to get better is to do it. You don't get
Mhm.
better at free throws sitting at home watching TV. You
Right.
get better by practice. And communication is just like any other skill. You just have to get better and you have to practice.
Yeah, you have to practice it. You have to really put yourself in a
Yeah.
situation where you're learning and growing from it instead of just staying stagnant. So that raises some really good points in that for
Yeah.
sure. And I can imagine, being overseas like you were at that time, that really being important for you because I mean, I'm sure the foreign language
Yeah.
barrier and the expectations of you, it really relied on you to be a really good communicator, an effective communicator.
Yes.
So how you said you were in the overseas space for 4 years, I believe you said.
Yes.
Okay. So how would you describe that experience just in general? I'm just curious, like, because that's a really big accomplishment that I want to just kind of bring to the forefront here.
Yeah. So it's crazy because for somebody like me growing up where I came from, I didn't start playing basketball until seventh grade. So
Okay.
essentially, I was like a late bloomer. But I remember like the first year, like I would play well in Wentzville, but then I would go to the city and not play as well. And I couldn't understand. I'm like, man, is this something I'm doing? Is it something they doing? Like, no, these dudes are just better. Like they're better there. And so for me, when I got overseas, I had already came to the table playing for Larry Eustace, a coach that made practice so hard that by the time I got overseas, it was easy. And it really opened my eyes to different experiences of what you think it's like versus what it's really like. So, Finland, for example, when I first got to Finland, right? I got there, honestly, didn't even do a lot of research. I knew it was cold, but I got there in like mid-August, so it was still kind of warm.
Okay.
It was great. The language, rough. I mean, it sound like some 1806, like some stuff where Jack the Ripper and them was at. Like it's
Wow.
hard and it's rough and you don't know. For me, I learned that keep an open mind because when I went there, most of the time that I was there, I didn't keep an open mind. I'm like, I'm just gonna go to practice. I may go to the sauna. I'm gonna go get a haircut. I'm gonna just
Hmm.
do that. But by the time I left, it was, I think, a month before I left, I started to play tourist a little bit. And I'm like, I should have been doing this, but I came into it without an open mind. So by the time I got to South America, in Montevideo, Uruguay, man, I was playing tourist soon as I got there. Once all my paperwork was complete, I landed. I got my healthcare stuff done. It was about 3 o'clock when I finished. They was like, "All right, so you ready to go?" I'm like, "No, I'm gonna walk because my house not too far. I'm a walker. Like I have to. I want to be able to walk at least 4 blocks north, south, east, west of where I live because I need to know the area."
Yeah.
So for me doing that, and I realized like South America was much more of a like a family vibe. For my birthday, man, they cooked for me. They had a big feast that was cool. And then they had a beach, man. I would go out on the beach, just have a good time. It was vibes. And my Spanish got a little better, but I realized the Spanish they teach us versus the Spanish that's in actual, the Spanish speaking countries is different,
Yeah.
But I'm glad I at least took Spanish 1 and Spanish 2. Not saying I was fluent or anything, but I tried. And now my fiance, she speaks Spanish, she speaks Creole, she speaks French, and so I got a lot to learn and to do. But my last stop in China, and this was my favorite stop for me growing up, I thought China was just drag people in dragon costumes and all of
Right.
these things, right? Very stereotypical thinking until I got there and I realized they are more technologically advanced than we are. So,
Yeah.
for example, when I first got to China in 2018, at the stop sign, there was no yellow light. There was a red and there was a green.
Wow.
The yellow light essentially was a timer. And I'm looking like, oh, that is a great idea. I wonder why we don't have that. And then so now you see all these QR codes with Cash App and all of that. In 2018, they had that. So essentially, I had
Wow.
an app called WeChat to where you can load your money on with your bank account. And any individual vendor outside, if you scan their app and they tell you it's 30 RMB, you pay 30 RMB and that's what it is. And so it's funny because I came back for the summer and I just started to compare and contrast. I'm like, man, we don't even have QR codes out here yet. It's 2018.
Wow.
And I'm like, this is interesting. But for me, it was our dollar flexed, right? At
Right.
that time, our dollar was very, very strong. So the conversion of 1 USD, I think it was like 7 RMB, which was the Chinese currency. And so I was able to do a lot of things for a little bit of money. I'm not gonna lie. It was the only time in my life to where I was playing a lot, and a lot of my teammates was like, "Man, you need to go get your nails clipped, your feet rubbed on. You got to take care of your body." I said, "You want to know what? I'm gonna go get a foot massage." Man, I tell you what, I was getting a foot massage every other week, if not every week, because it was only like I think if like 100 RMB, which is like 15, $16.
Oh,
And so
wow.
for me, I was like, oh, this is it. But every last one of those stops, man, I will say, I learned from the first stop to be a tourist for the next stop. And I also learned from South America on, save your money and make sure you're doing the right thing with your money because a lot of people don't have that conversation of overseas athletes. You so thirsty and so happy to get your own money you spend it instead of saying,
Yeah.
hey, man, I'm going to let you know right now. If you save up for 3 months, you can have a down payment on a house. And guess what? You will always have a place to go when you come to and from the USA. And guess what? While you overseas, you can rent it out. You can do an
Hmm.
Airbnb. You can do whatever you want. These aren't these weren't conversations that I was having.
Yeah.
I was not in that headspace. I was tunnel vision, like I'm doing what I got to do. My family's proud not calling home asking for money. They're not getting a phone call saying I'm locked up. I'm doing my thing. But I just realized that there's more, and for me, that's why, even though I'm not working in athletics anymore per se, I still love my athletes and I still reach out to them because my dissertation is about the impact that name, image, and likeness has on post opportunities of Division I student athletes in the Southeastern Conference. So what I'm studying now is how name, image, and likeness essentially takes their eye off of the prize. Because for professionals like myself, doing career and professional development, I've been doing that since 2020, since I first came. You throw a variable in an already complex equation, and that variable is the most complex variable, which is money. Start
Hmm.
to talk about money, now it's like, oh, well, I just want the bag. I don't want anything else. I don't even want to
Right.
go to class. I don't want any, I just want the money. And so I think that with NIL, if used properly, you can wield it in such a way that once you get your name, your image, your likeness, and people know who you are, well, now if Dr. Sherman Green knows who I am, it's a little easier for me to negotiate for an internship. It's a little easier for me to negotiate for a job shadowing opportunity. So I just tried to, when I was working with my athletes, let them know that, listen, utilize what you have. And it's
Mm.
like compound interest because if you're a good person, you don't even have to be a good person. Just be cordial with people. Be cordial. But if you
Yeah.
are a good person who when people see you, they smile. When people think about your name, they think about good things. They may not say you're perfect, but they think about these things. And when you do that, you build this reputation that, hey, Teal is going to be this guy. He's going to show up. He's going to do this. He's going to be reliable. He's going to be respectful. Is he going to be perfect? No, but he'll be there and he's
Yeah.
going to give it 100%. And that's all I wanted for my student athletes is to get them to understand that because I just tried to use everything that I've already had my experience being a collegiate athlete, my experience being a professional athlete, my experience either studying for this doctorate and trying to finish up this dissertation, everything that I have, I poured into them and I'm currently doing it for the students that I teach.
Oh, that's amazing. That is quite amazing. So when you came back from being overseas and then you
Mhm.
came back, you mentioned how, that COVID experience kind of opened your eyes to the new
Yes.
reality for yourself.
Hmm.
How did you find yourself using all of those skills
Hmm.
to get you to where you are right now?
That's a great question. And it's funny because you never think about the skills you have until you have to.
Do you have to use them?
Till you have to use them. So for me,
Yeah.
it was rough. When I first got back from overseas, it was February or March of 2020.
That was like at the onset of it.
Yes. And I
Mhm.
remember I slept on my sister's couch for about 5 months. And during that 5 months, I didn't work. I was training, trying to figure it out, like I'm like, man, I'm the border will open any moment now. I gotta be ready. And for me, I realized that when I finished my master's, which I actually completed my master's in China when I was in there in 2019,
Oh, wow.
because I start off in person, but then I finished online. And so I finished my master's, and for my master's, we had a capstone. We didn't have a thesis, we had a capstone. And my capstone was something that I designed called Building After Graduation. It was called the BAG program, which was a holistic program based on the professional and personal development specific to student athletes. And it's funny because when I was working through it, I'm like, man, I really wish these are things that I would have had, or people would have poured into me this way, or I would have had somebody that looked like me and had the same experiences to come back and tell me, hey, I've been there, I've done that. This is what you need to do. And so that bag program was crucial because once I transitioned, you talk about skills. Well, the one skill I had was curriculum design. My background was in education. And so
Mm-hmm.
I used that skill when I got my first opportunity August of 2020, later that year, I was a junior college men's basketball assistant coach and I was an adjunct professor. So those curriculum design skills,
Yeah.
I had a chance to put theory to practice. And so upon taking the assistant coaching job, you had to be an adjunct professor. So you had to teach class. So I said, okay, how does this class usually go? And so they said, okay, well, yeah, here at Lincoln Trail, you can just take attendance and it'll be a study hall. I'm like, well, that's boring. Like,
Hmm.
how much autonomy and how much say do I have? And they said, well, you can kind of make it into any class you want. You've got two classes. I said, fine. So I created a curriculum based on career and personal development. The first class was called Gen Ed 100, which was for the first year. The second class was Gen Ed 200 for the second year. First year students, we focused on exploring careers and who you are, Myers-Briggs personality assessment, like
Right.
who you are, what skills, values, things like that. The second year class, Gen Ed 200, was really preparing the athletes for an internship, getting their resume together. I did so many mock interviews, my head started to hurt, but I
Mhm.
learned that a lot of those mock interviews I did were the very first for these athletes. And I'm proud to say that
Oh yeah.
even though the interview was not perfect, I got them thinking of how can you present yourself? These questions that
Absolutely.
we ask you are about you and your skills.
Right.
So if you don't know them, you need to figure those out. And so for me, using the curriculum development skill, using my communication skill in combination with the fact that at this point I'm still young enough so they can understand like, oh, well, he ain't too old. He actually knows what he's talking about. And
Right.
at that point, I was still playing with my athletes and I was dominating because
Hmm.
I'm only what 8 months post COVID at that point. And
Yeah.
so that added the credibility. And so once I
Hmm.
convinced them that I was credible,
Hmm.
and once you got them, once you have them, I took advantage.
Yeah.
We got to it. We worked on resumes, we worked on pitches, we worked on things that they never had worked on. And so for me, those transferable skills really helped me along the way. Even moving past that, I got the opportunity to be a director of basketball operations at the University of Tennessee Martin. Now, see, the only difference between Lincoln Trail and UT Martin was UT Martin had more resources. And so now I'm like, okay, if I can do that with my bag program, how can I take it to the next level? And
Mm.
so getting to UT Martin, it was like, okay, even though the University of Tennessee Martin is not this big grand virtuoso university, okay, we actually have a career center. We actually have an alumni base. So
Hmm.
anything that I needed from my bag program, all it was outreach. And then for me, the recruitment skills. I recruited as a coach.
Yeah.
So for me, no to me means next opportunity. I never look at no if I say, hey, Dr. Sherman Green, you want to be a part of what I got going on? No, I'm okay. I'll get with you fine. Appreciate your time. I may want to engage you later at a different date, whether I like what you said, whether you're not. I respect you because you replied. Cool. I'm going to move on.
Right.
I'm not going to sit there and cry over spilled milk of, well, what's Dr. Green doing and how can he? Listen, he said right now it's not a good time. Fine. I'm going to add you to my Excel spreadsheet and I'm going to keep it moving.
That's
So
right.
that recruiting experience
Hmm.
really
Hmm.
helped me recruit other people to help my bag program grow. And I was at the University of Tennessee Martin for 2 years. And after that, transitioning to Tulane and all of those skills that I had with recruitment, with being the director of basketball operations, you got to be on point. Like you have to, I'm booking hotels, flights, meals,
Right.
logistics,
Yeah.
everything. And so that experience for me was easy because I was familiar with Concur and how to
Right.
file a expense report and how to make sure, it's tax exempt. Because if it wasn't tax exempt at UT Martin, it's coming out of your check.
Hmm.
So for me, I had to understand, okay, I'm getting the hang of this transferable skills thing because these are the skills that I use and these are the skills that I'm still using. The only difference is I'm better at using them now. So now you say, okay, communication, I'm tech savvy enough to figure out really whatever you need.
Right.
I've got the experience recruiting. I've got the gift of gab from my mom. Shout out to mama. She gave that to me. And it's a funny story. Every time me and her would go to Walmart, I would hate it. She talking to everybody and their grandma. I'm like, dang, mom, why you gotta tell them where I'm going to school at and what I'm
Right. Yeah.
me being
Yeah.
young, not knowing a proud parent.
Right.
But now, fast forward, I'm in Walmart and I'm doing the same thing.
Oh, wow.
I'm like,
Wow.
man, but the difference
Get
is
it.
I lean into it, man. I'm like,
Yeah.
you want to know
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
If
Might
this
as
is the
well
gift I
embrace it.
got,
Yeah.
yeah. So a lot of those transferable skills, man, even now, they're really just paying dividends because I realized what I was good at. And once you realize what transferable skills you have that are great, you start to say, okay, what do I need? what can I pair with this great communication skill that's gonna make me even better, that can take me to the next level. And now just doing leadership things, leadership and personal and professional development for myself is crucial.
Oh yeah. And I mean, I couldn't agree with you more on a lot that you just said because when you get the students buy-in, I want to
Yes.
go back to when you said that
Hmm.
they will follow you and they will absorb everything that you said. So I
Yes.
think for you to come back at that exact time and for these
Yes.
opportunities to unfold and you to have the effect that you had on them
Hmm.
was like all written in the stars for you. And I can definitely see them taking your experiences to heart because they know that you've been there and you're going to kind of share that enlightenment with them. So that's awesome, man. So would you say that being a former athlete and now, being in the 9 to 5 space,
Hmm.
doing the wonderful work that you're doing,
Hmm.
was it all kind of predestined for you to be where you are right now?
I believe so. I believe that, all of the skills and experiences and everything I had came together to just kind of put me where I am now. I don't believe in accidents. I think everything happens for a reason. But I will say this: if you truly are a competitor in whatever
Mm,
you do, whether you're a student athlete or not, I see a scoreboard, whatever I'm doing, whenever I'm doing, it don't matter. So for me, I'm already naturally competitive and I don't need a reason. And so
hmm.
going into the 9 to 5 space, working with Alumni Association and doing programming and career and professional development, well, for me, it's like, okay, well, who was here before and how many people did they engage the first year?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
What were the results?
Right.
I want to perform an assessment first and see what worked, what didn't, and now I'm going to put my plan together so I can know I'm competitive. I like to win. Now, does that mean I win all the time? Absolutely not. I think great winners, once you taste defeat, humility kicks in, but you also learn. Just like I
Hmm.
said earlier, you can prepare the right way, do the right things, never go out to a party, never drink, never do anything, and it may not happen for you.
Hmm.
But one thing that I learned along my path was I'm competitive, whether I'm working with student athletes to help get internships or whether I'm working with alumni to help get them opportunities and engaging employers. I want to do it at the highest level. I'm not going to be perfect, but I can guarantee you I'm going to come in and I am going to do my best. And I think that mindset of
Hmm.
coming in and putting my best foot forward
Hmm.
and letting everything kind of play out and letting the chips fall where they may, I think that is a skill in itself. You
It
don't
is.
have to be, you don't have to have a doctorate, you don't have to be this or that. Everybody has the chance and the opportunity to do that. And so for me, once I realized transitioning out of the athletic space, I'm still competitive because if you rip this open right here, a competitor is in there. And
Hmm.
so I like to win. I've learned how to lose. And at the end of the day, I just want to do my best. And if it's not enough, cool, I'm gonna go back to the drawing board and say, okay, where could I have got better at this, this point or that point. That's the coach in me. It's halftime. Okay, let's make adjustments. How can I
Hmm.
make adjustments and position this player to get more touches or that player to kind of switch them defensively? For me, it's the same mindset of whether you drawing up a play or hey, this is what I got to do today, and being competitive is just all about the strategy of it all. And so I just like to compete, man. I still play basketball, still competitive. You better ask my niece. Ain't there no easy wins over here with Uncle Till and Uno, Goldfish, Mario?
Not
Come on,
doing it.
it doesn't matter. I want to win.
Gonna
And the thing
win.
about that is, if you beat me fair and square. I'll take my loss like a man. I'll look you in your eye, shake your hand, and say, "I'll be back."
Hmm. Hmm. That's an undying spirit. I think when you have that competitor's heart,
Yeah,
you never lose that.
never.
But I do think that is definitely something in itself. That's a skill in itself. Because to be competitive, You have to want to be the best, which means that
Yes.
you're going to have that grit to make it happen.
Hmm.
You're going to have that fortitude of knowing what you need to do in order to win. That takes that effort. That takes that, that experience of knowing how to exert the energy that you need to exert in order to win. It's a whole dynamic being competitive. So I can definitely see that being your bread and butter
Yeah.
into like succeeding and getting everything that you wanted to accomplish done. So
Yes,
that
sir.
is amazing. I hope that you are highlighting that on other people, that
Yes.
competitive nature and how it's very helpful to have and to keep in your pocket because that's
Yes.
going to help out a lot in life. So I hope that you keep that in mind. If
I'm
you were to say, I don't know, a cheat sheet for anybody that's watching or listening
hmm
that, needs to take more, acknowledge more of their skills and how to
hmm
transfer those skills into other areas in their life, what would that cheat sheet be comprised of?
I think the most important thing is resources. And I think first, you have to know what your resources are. So if you are at a university like Tulane University, we have a bunch of resources at your disposal to help you to do with whatever it is you want.
Hmm.
Once you identify those resources, you have to tap in. But unfortunately, a lot of people don't know how to, okay, well, I'm interested in this. So how do I know, how do I, connect with this person or that person? And so for me, that's when the networking comes into play. And so utilizing your resources is so crucial. And I
Hmm.
think a lot of people leave their university, their campus, not really understanding what they really offered, right? Not really understanding that there is a multicultural center who puts on
Hmm.
events for us. It's called Wednesday at the O to, help food poverty. You come and they give y'all a meal once a week. Like, and if you don't know that, then you wouldn't know
That's
because
right.
you're either stuck in your bubble or you walk past that building every day.
Yeah.
International students, if
Yeah.
international, a bunch of resources, any affinity groups, you want a black student union, you want a LGBTQ student union, you want European student like they have it all. And I think once you can tap into those resources, life becomes a little easier because now you know what you're working with, even utilizing your professors as resources and saying, hey, Professor Daniels, I'm interested in psychology, right? Is there anybody you can put me in touch with who can, maybe give me like the lay of the land or what I can expect after I graduate? Of course, like
Hmm.
I'm still tight with our student athlete mental health team. Her name
Hmm.
is Bracely. Amazing. Anytime I would say, hey, Bracely, I got this student athlete for you. Can you go talk to him? Or even a student on campus. She'll say, yeah, give him my number and I'll set up a time to meet. So when you know where your resources are, it helps you versus I'm only here to be an
Hmm.
engineering student and I'm only going to go to the engineering building and home. I'm not saying that you won't graduate with honors, you probably will, but I'm saying your experience would be
Hmm.
better because now you can explore these options. And like I said earlier, you may be on the path to be an engineer and then find out, I really want to crunch these numbers and be an accountant.
Hmm.
So I just say when you have these resources, and I think the most important thing is just trying different things out because the reality is your major does not equal your career. And I try to tell my students that every day, like, listen, yes, you may major in liberal arts, but you can end up being, studying the ocean or anything. So I always tell them when you use your resources, you'll be able to explore different things. And now your world opens up because if I want to explore an internship, right? I can have 2 or 3 or 4 or job shadowing opportunities or whatever. The more you say no, you cross the no off, the closer you're going to get to yes. You're
Hmm.
going to find it. But a lot of people, what happens is you don't know your resources. You don't try to explore them, whether it's from, athletes, whether it's from coaches or administration saying, hey, you don't need to be over there. We're a one-stop shop here. Just come with us. People just don't understand when you have the ability to explore in a non-committal way, which is
Hmm.
a job shadowing opportunity or an internship, you can say, Dr. Green, I like your internship. I don't think that's for me. So I'm
Yeah.
going to move on. But what you learn from that is, man, I may not have liked that, but you want to know what? Dr. Green is somebody that I know I would want to work for, and the qualities that he shows are
Hmm.
qualities of a leader. And so now I can say, I know what I'm looking for in a supervisor or a boss, but I also know what kind of leader I want to be
Right.
and how I want to lead other people. And so I think that the resources, that's the cheat sheet, man. Everybody's resources are not the same. If you don't have any resources, try to figure out what you do have and use what you got.
Hmm.
That's all I say is that people, it's just a war for information and access. And when you come to a campus, the reality is if you're from where I'm from, you'll never have that information access again ever in your life. So
Hmm.
while you have it, you have to understand these resources, and they tell college be a blast, it'll fly by, and then you'll graduate or you don't graduate, however it ends for you, and it's over. And
Yes, sir.
so before you really think like, man, what was that? Could I have got an intern? Yes, it's too late.
Hmm.
It's a full-time job now. It's not an internship anymore. It's a full-time job. So resources and just access, man, it's not equal. And I know people, if you're growing up like myself, you don't have a lot, but that's why like I just always try to tell people, like when you figure out your resources, no matter how vast, use it.
Right.
Somebody somewhere will say, you want to know what? Just Teal came up to me and he asked me about something, and I told him
Hmm.
I ain't had an answer, but it had me thinking. I think one of my friend do something like that. Hey T, I want you to connect with my guy.
Hmm.
And then from that, it could be, you want to know what? Yeah, why don't
Hmm.
you job shadow me and I can show you how to change a tire.
Oh yeah.
And
Most
so
definitely.
opportunity just breeds more opportunity. And so I'm all for exploring and just utilizing your resources.
Yeah, I love it. Like I was saying, that's definitely happened to me on several occasions. So I know that
Yeah.
what you're saying is 100% true.
Yeah.
Definitely. One last question for you. What is one word that personifies who you are?
Authentic.
Mm.
For me, I'm a thermometer. You know when I'm running cold, you know when I'm running hot. You don't have to guess. But I'm always authentically myself, and I think showing people who I am and being authentic helps other people say, "Oh, did he really just say that?" Yes, I did, because it's the truth.
Hmm.
Like they would be so surprised at me when we would have parents and I would have to talk to them on their official visit, and they're like, "Well, hey, only focus on this and that." No, depending on who I'm talking to, I'm going to tailor my message to them. For
Yeah.
example, we had a young lady on the tennis team, a young black lady. It was her, her mom, and her dad going through the spiel of what we do and how we do it, and I just tell them, "Hey, I'm gonna just be honest with you, like." This is Tulane University. We are the Ivy League of the South. If you get down here and you want to play games, they will get rid of you. If you get down here and you do well and you want to do more, it's an all you can eat buffet. However much you want, you're going to get. And so bringing that authenticity and just speaking from them that way and just being real, they
Hmm.
then say, "Oh, everybody else was giving us those interview answers." I'm like,
Hmm.
of course. Like, don't get me
Hmm.
wrong, interview answer is always good, but
Right.
keep it real with me and give me the option to choose. And a lot of people are like, well, maybe you shouldn't keep it too real because we're trying to get them. No, but what good is it if we get them under false pretenses of this is what we do, this is what we do, and we don't, versus, hey, I'm gonna let you know if you come here and you BS around, it's gonna be trouble and they
Hmm.
will get rid of you. But if you
Hmm.
come here, you handle business and you do what you need to do, this is going to be a golden opportunity for you.
Being authentic goes a long way,
It does.
a very, very long way. Mr. Dantiel Daniels, soon to be Dr. Dantiel
Yes,
Daniels.
sir.
Thank you so very much for joining and sharing your nuggets today on the importance of transferable skills. I think
Mhm.
anybody listening or watching this can definitely grab a lot from what you've said, and just the understanding of this conversation. It was so easy to understand where you were coming from. So
Yeah.
I really appreciate you just kind of laying it out very just easy breezy so anybody can understand where you're coming from.
Yes,
So if
sir.
individuals wanted to connect with you, from this point on, how could they do so?
Yeah, so y'all can reach me on X, and it's gonna be at underscore Debo, Deebo Daniels. And then y'all can reach me via email. I'm always available. It's gonna be D Daniels, the number one, at tulane.edu. So y'all come holler at me. I want to
Awesome.
top it up with everybody.
Awesome. Um, one last thing for you. What's something that you're grateful for today?
I'm grateful for this conversation to be in the presence of a black man that has already accomplished what I'm currently working on, and a black man that handles his business, does the things he needs to do, does it the right way, and enjoys success.
Man, I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you so much for saying that. I
Sir.
really appreciate that. Um, I'm grateful for what you just said because
Hmm.
I don't take that lightly at all. I'm very grateful for that. And I think today, of all days, I'm just grateful to be amongst the living. And I say
Yeah,
that often,
for
but
sure.
I'm really thankful and grateful because,
Yep.
anything could happen at any given time. So
Agreed.
grateful
Agreed. It's
for
a
your
blessing.
compliments and grateful for this day. So thank you again. I appreciate it.
For
So if
sure.
anybody is watching, please make sure that you subscribe to this YouTube page. You can watch this episode, of course, and other episodes as well. And go to my website, go to all my social media platforms, and tune in next time. We're going to have another amazing topic, another amazing guest. I hope you all have a great rest of the day.